You had the youngin', and she had teenager issues that got kind of bad. So the floor is yours. Let's rock.
All right. Yeah, my baby girl, her name's Kayla, and she's okay with me telling her story. She'll tell it if she was here. But whenever she was a teenager, she went to the doctor because she was having a hard time with her cycle. It was irregular, and she was an athlete, so she ended up going to college and playing college basketball. She's a wonderful woman. She's 6'3", and she had between 100 colleges that wanted her between volleyball and basketball. But whenever her period was irregular and we couldn't figure it out, so she went to the OBGYN and they did some tests, and endometriosis runs in my family. So I had a full hysterectomy at 25 from stage 4 endometriosis. And I have an aunt and a sister who could not have kids because of it. So whenever she went to the doctor, they told her she had endometriosis, and she had 3 large cysts over her right ovary, the size of softballs. And they told her that she would never have children. And they wanted to put her on birth control and everything. Obviously, we said no. So she graduated high school in 2019 and went to college. And we were using other detoxes that did absolutely nothing, actually caused a little bit of harm, because you have to be so very careful with what you do. So whenever we started on Root, in June. Well, she started on Root in June of 2021. And she was on the Trinity. And then whenever Relive Greens came out in November of 2021, we got that. So she started that in December. And by January, her period was regular. It was every 28 days. And then she shed the cysts. So the cysts came completely off. She started to give me back my youth in June of 2022. And whenever in September, actually, on our way down to Austin to see Dr. Ram and everybody, my husband and I were driving through Texas, and we got a call from my daughter. And she was like, I have to tell you guys something. And we were like, yeah. And she said, we just found out we're pregnant. So now she's having a baby, and she's due at the end of April, beginning of May.
And the
baby girl
is what?
Oh, she's huge. She is so big. So she's, I asked my daughter the other day, she is measuring 6 days ahead of schedule on her size, and also on her ability in the womb and everything that she's doing. So she's extremely advanced. They said that it's extremely rare to have a child on schedule anymore. And she's ahead of schedule, and she was so cute. So whenever they did the ultrasound to find out boy or girl, she was sitting there and she swishes all over the place and everything. And she's sitting there with her legs, and she's like this and stretching, and her legs are so long. And they didn't expect her to be as big as she is, even though her mama's big. You know, her mama's 6'3", her daddy's 6'1". And you know, I mean, her uncle's huge, and my husband's huge, but they didn't expect her to be that big. She's measuring bigger than Kayla ever did, and she was a huge baby. So, and actually my husband was 10 pounds when he was born, and she's measuring, we got out the baby records, and we call her Little Bean because we don't have an official name yet. So Little Bean is measuring much bigger than her granddad.
How cool is that?
Yes, and super healthy.
And mama's feeling kind of happy and doing great.
She is on cloud 9. She was preparing to be a dog mom because she never thought she'd have children.
So you said she shed the cysts. What was that like for her? Did she give you any feedback on that as things flushed out? And what did she have any changes in how she felt, or it had to make some changes abdominally with how she's feeling?
Her bloating, well, we thought was bloating, which was actually the cysts, went down. She, her almost immediately, because her hormones were regulating, because Zero In is amazing at that, because her hormones were regulating, she actually, she didn't have so I always taught her that even though it's quote unquote normal for girls to be stinkers, during that time of the month. I always taught her that that was not normal and you can control yourself. And so she was always really good at that, but she would still get frustrated. And so she had realized that she wasn't having to control her emotions anymore, that her emotions regulated on their own, and it didn't affect her emotions that time of the month at all. And then whenever her cyst began to shed, it wasn't the same type of pain as having a cyst. She said it was almost like a relief. How do I explain it? Kind of like after, if you have like a really important surgery and it relieves the pain and you have another pain from the healing, but it's a different type of pain. It was kind of like that. And it only took like 2, I believe, I'd have to ask her if it was 2 or 3, but I think it was only 2 periods before the cysts were completely gone. So they went out extremely fast. And her bleeding it went, so she was, whenever she would have that time of the month, it was like really, really heavy before. And I mean, I'm not going to get into the details, but girls, you know what I mean. And whenever she started on, by about October, from being on the Trinity in June, she began to see that her cycle wasn't completely regulated every 28 days, but she was having one every month instead of skipping. And she was also seeing that the heaviness was starting to go away and it was becoming a bit normal. And so whenever she shed, though, there was a bunch of clumps that came out and everything like that, and then it was gone. And then literally January, she was every 28 days, and she had never been like that in her whole life.
Isn't that healthy?
Mm-hmm. That's what it should be. If your body operates the way that you were created to operate, that's what it should be.
How about that? So she's kind of happy. Grandma's happy.
I'm so happy.
First grandbaby.
Mm-hmm.
So what was it like being mom, right? So you've been on this crazy mission, you and Jill being the Detox girls, trying to make sure that you're taking care of the kids and yourselves because of, the journey that you've had and what you've learned from some of the exposures that kids can get, whether it's voluntary or involuntary, right? And this health journey. And the kids know that both of you are a little bit nuts, right? Because you're always trying to do this crazy stuff for these kids. And it's been the interesting journey. So with these recommendations, and now with these we'll say changes that have taken place, what's the communication like from the kids that way? They're like, hey mom, this is kind of cool.
Oh, they love it. They love it. So Kayla, so daddy, her fiance, so we're planning a baby shower and a wedding. This year's a big year. So her fiance, he actually absolutely loves it too. So he's on it. And I actually, whenever they started dating, I made him start it. And I was like, because if you guys end up getting married and having kids, I didn't know that back then, but if you guys end up getting married and having kids, I'm going to have healthy grandbabies. So I made him start taking clean slate and 0 in at least. And so he loves it. He will not, he's off of energy drinks and all kind. I mean, he was on Red Bulls and all kinds of gross stuff, and he doesn't take any of that anymore. He quit smoking with it. It helped him quit smoking, quit vaping and everything. So he's doing really good. And Ian is exceeding in college. So he's a freshman in college playing college basketball. And he actually, oh no, Clayton, you're gonna love this. So he called me the other day. He's like, Mom, and I was like, yeah. He was like, we had 2-a-days again because our game was canceled. He was like, because we had a big snowstorm. And he was like, I forgot to take my Restore before the workout. And that's usually the only nutrients he takes because they work out at like 5 a.m. And he was like, I forgot to take it. And I puked for the first time in practice. He was like, I didn't realize the impact Restore had on me for my workouts, for energy, and for my stomach. Because whenever you work out, you release a lot of zonulin, and that can destroy your gut. So Restore is really good at helping that. And he didn't realize how good Restore was at helping him through his workouts until he didn't have it. So he threw up, he went back to work out and everything. But he was like, I'm never forgetting it again. So now he keeps it. But yeah, he actually, so he's a college basketball player as a freshman in college. and he made the dean's list.
And he said
So I'm so
school's
proud of
easy
him.
now.
He is, yeah, and he's at so the college he chose is, they don't just let everybody in, it's a private college, and it's actually extremely rigorous academically, and it's actually one of the highest, it actually is the highest academic college in their division and in South Dakota. So it's extremely rigorous. It's academically, it's up there with Ivy League, and it's easy for him. He was actually mad. So all of his other classes, he had 99s in all of his classes. And in his English professor, he actually changed professors because he was like, the professor said on the first day, if you're not here, I expect, on time. I don't care if you're a college athlete or anything, you will be here every day. I expect perfect attendance, blah, blah, blah. And then the professor never shows up. And he was so mad. And then, so he didn't grade anything past the first assignment. So, and Ian got a 99 on the assignment. So he had a 99 in every single class. And then after midterms in December, the professor decided to grade everything. And in English, you have to be able to know how to improve. It's not like anything else, right? So he didn't grade anything through it. And so he got a 93 in English. And he was so mad because it ruined his perfect 99. I'm like, you still made the dean's list, buddy. He was like, no, it's not good enough. I'm changing professors.
Right.
Okay.
That's
But
cool.
he's doing amazing in basketball. And yeah,